well, forever, honestly, it feels like. So we got some key losses here. Juice Scruggs, 3-year guys who saw time at guard and center. You have Bryce Effner, kind of a Swiss Army knife type guy, played all over the field, versatile backup, spot started. Key returners, I could have probably picked 7 guys. I went with maybe the next 2. Oliwa Fashanu, projected top 10 pick at left tackle, and then Hunter Norzad, a 6-year guy who's going to be playing center. And then you have the 2 big newcomers, 5-star Jevin Williams and Alex Birchmeyer, the 4-star, who was a 5-star, got dropped a little bit because he doesn't, I don't know. They said it was because he's just a guard. I don't know what that has to do with it, but yeah, this is kind of the group they're going with.
Yeah. So, do we want Jevin Williams and Alex Birchmeyer to play? Like, is it bad news if the freshman offensive linemen are playing?
I mean, we're gonna get to it on the depth chart slide, but
here's where I'm at with it. It's an awesome thing that we don't need them to play.
That's the point.
We are deep enough that these guys don't need to. Arguably, they don't even need to be in the 2 deep this year because we are that deep at all these positions, and we have enough experience and talent coming back that obviously, if these guys go into camp and they're as good as advertised and they blow people away, it's going to be hard to keep them off the field. But we're not at a point where, hey, we need you to come in and play 13 games right off the back as an 18-year-old. So it's an awesome position to probably be in at Penn State, where we haven't been in a while. But at the same time, it's awesome getting them here.
And that was the main point, right? Is that they don't have to. Right. In years past, you would have looked at a 5-star guard and been like, he needs to play now because the returners are so weak. But it's not like that this year, right? It is a lot of depth, and we'll get to it on the next slide. But this is going to be a really, really good unit, it seems like. Despite, if you read the For the Bloggy thing yesterday, August 1st, talked about how the line running stats weren't as good as last year. I don't know how reliable those stats are because they were objectively better last year than they were in years past. So I'm not sure how to interpret that. But
I mean, the biggest question with this unit, though, comes back to center to me because, mean, you can't discount losing Scruggs and just how valuable that is. I mean, you talk to anyone that's ever played offensive line, the most important position, I know everyone's talking about left tackle and the quarterback's blind side and they get paid the big bucks. But if you don't have a good solid center that communicate effectively, knows all the calls, gets people in the right position, and then is also able to block themselves, that's a huge role to play. And Norzad comes from playing tackle at Cornell, the guard most of last year, to now center here. And I mean, I have faith in him, but that's a huge transition and something that's not being talked about enough, I think.
It is. And you come from Cornell, it's kind of a mid-level academic school. So, he's not really probably as smart as you'd like him to be.
Right. Okay.
Not really. I'm kidding, joking. But I don't know. That's kind of the point, though, right? Is that he does have a lot of experience, and if there's anybody who can come in and do it and make that change when it comes to intelligence and the ability to communicate and be a leader, it's probably someone who played 3 years at Cornell or 4 years at Cornell. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
But then the backup too for center. We'll talk about it here.
Yeah. So we have Fashanu obviously starting at left tackle. I have Drew Shelton as his backup. Now, here's the thing. Drew Shelton is going to compete for that right tackle spot, but if he loses it to a redshirt senior, which I don't see any shame in that, I think he's obviously more valuable being Fashanu's go-to backup in case something happens to him. Landon Tangwell back there healthy at left guard, backed up by J.B. Nelson, another guy who saw some experience last year. Obviously, we just talked about it. Norzad turns to center. Nick Dawkins is listed as the number 1 backup on our lads. Penn State does not drop a depth chart anymore, and they probably wouldn't drop one this early anyway. So right now it looks like it's Dawkins, the redshirt junior. Sal Wormley at right guard, redshirt senior, but I am very much looking to see if Vega Ione, the redshirt freshman who saw some time last year, can move him out of that spot. I think he's listed at 6'4", 370, something like that. Dude is massive, very good run blocker. Then I have Caden Wallace winning the right tackle job. Drew Shelton is going to be the main backup at both tackle spots if he does not win the right tackle spot. But I did put Jevin Williams there because, as Franklin showed last year with Shelton, he's going to play his most talented guy to save his line. And if something was to happen to Fashanu or Wallace, hopefully it does not. But I think Williams has more upside than a lot of the other guys buried on that depth chart. And I could very well see by the middle of the season, Williams becoming on that 2 line.
To that point exactly, though, that's why I'm hesitant with thinking Dawkins is the true backup at center. It's just there's so much talent between
it might be Landon, yeah,
and Vega and Drew Shelton that I think there is some shuffling around. Like even last year when Scruggs got hurt, it wasn't the true center backup. It was Norzad slided in, and then we put in one of the stud guards that were playing the 2 line back in there. So I'm very interested to see who the real backup will be once game time comes around, because you'll see them with getting the reps in the game and who goes in there. And I think Dawkins has potential. It's just he's never stayed healthy. We haven't really seen him in a game setting that much. So it's interesting to see where that comes because, like I said, center is such an important position for this line.
Yeah.
A lot of experience here in the top line and even in the second line, right? So you will lose 4 of those top 5 guys after this year.
Well, you could lose all 5 technically.
Conceivably, yeah. Depending on how good Tangwall does. But 4 of them almost definitely are gone. So you really you do. This is another place where you want to build some experience too and build some depth, right? Because the guys behind them don't have a ton of playing time.
Yeah, so, that is, especially going forward, like for next year, you do need these guys to get in these games, especially Delaware and UMass and such. Jevin Williams might have to get in there. Vega probably gets in there. Nick Dawkins probably has to get in there. There's a lot of guys that do need to get in there because 2024 you're looking at major overhaul on the offensive line, where at other positions, your running backs and quarterback are coming back, and the people in front of them who are supposed to help make them successful are going to go over major changes. So Penn State has to find the happy medium of obviously winning every game this year and then preparing next year, because if they don't with this group, it could get ugly early in the season next year.
But that's something that you've seen as Franklin's strength over time, is he's so good at rotating players in and getting that confidence level and that experience built up with them that, he's not afraid to play a freshman his 4 games. And if they've outplayed their 4 games, then he's going to get them that 5th game. He's not afraid to ruin a red shirt for it. He wants them to be as good as they need to be for when they have that starting experience. And if they're as good as they are and they play those whatever games and lose the Fred shirt, they should be going to the league, whether they're here 4 or 5 years. So a lot of players have that trust in him that they don't need to sit that year and get that experience. They don't need to hold that red shirt just in case.
For sure. And the biggest reason why I'm finally feeling good about this unit is that experience. The youngest guy you're starting is a 3rd-year guy, which I don't know the last time that's really happened here, where it wasn't former defensive tackles being those guys. We're talking about true offensive linemen, dudes that have been playing offensive line since 7th or 8th grade. We're talking about some guys that went to some legit high schools too. Olio Fashanu protected Caleb Williams' blindside in high school. Landon Tangwell went to Good Counsel, really good Maryland prep school too. So there's guys that went to some big time schools here too, have experience playing legit football. So this group, I think, is legit.
Remember CJ Thorpe, offense, defense.
Thankfully, those days seem to be behind this program.
When we win the game in Houston this year, everybody will look back on those days and laugh.
Yeah. I will say, though, this group is a pretty good testament to Franklin, the recruiting ability, because I know Jevin Williams, maybe not so much, but you have pretty much 8 to 9 guys you trust in a game here right now, when the first 8-9 years we went with maybe 2 guys we trusted on a line at a time. So this is just really good to see overall, just having all of this in there.
And Phil Troutwine right now is listed as the number 7 overall recruiter on 24/7. So he's building tremendous momentum.
Yeah, I mean he hit out of the park last cycle, a 5-star and 3 4 stars. It's